Welcome back, guys. This is another episode of the Supernaturals.
What's up, everybody? As you can see, for our visual listeners, our video listeners,
Our visual. You can see the visual.
you know what I mean. Anyway, if you're watching the video on YouTube or our Patreon, you can see we have a little bit of a different setup here. We upgraded our studio.
That we did.
Cool little lights here.
Yeah, we felt like it's not a bad change and still gives off the same vibe as previous.
Yeah, and the coolest thing, too, is that we can change colors.
Yes, we can.
Do you want to show them?
Sure.
Just click like another color. Ooh, look at that.
Not bad, not bad. Now, what was it at?
It was the green one.
This one? No,
No, that's white.
that one?
Good enough. Fuck it.
This one.
Yes, there you go. There you go. There you go.
That is not green.
It's that Dolphins teal, brother.
Well, yeah.
Fan.
So, yeah, we've upgraded the studio a little bit, hoping to up our production a tad. Just a wee bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just a little bit. So today,
We're getting heavy again.
yeah, make sure, just like the Richard Ramirez episode, everybody, grab your little drinky drinks. We have whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
No brands on this channel. We have whiskey, and we are gonna drink all of it because this is another real piece of shit that we're gonna talk about. But it's also
Very true.
kind of important, I would say. I
has
think this is a big deal, and it shows flaws in our what do you call it? Judicial system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, one thing about it is it's also another big stamp on pop culture.
Oh, huge. There is a part 2 to this. So
Big time.
who we're talking about today is the one and only Pogo the Clown,
AKA,
John Wayne Gacy.
AKA, Patches the Clown.
Patches the Clown. Yep. So we're talking about that. And then if you guys already know, part 2 is going to be all about creepy ass motherfucking clowns. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, if we had a little, that would have been so sick.
I might just insert that sound.
Yeah, put that in there. That'd be fun. So I think that'll be super fun to talk about clowns. Now, today's episode, unfortunately, the prequel to that episode is not going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to suck.
Heavy hitter, and then we'll get into the more fun, lighthearted of what the Supernaturals is about.
Yeah, which I think is cool. So for you true crime listeners out there, obviously you guys have probably heard of John Wayne Gacy and probably heard about a lot of him, but you haven't heard the Supernaturals talk about. No, it's pretty much the same shit that you've heard, but just our take on everything, you know. Hopefully you guys like listening to us and stuff, and
We'll have our own input on it.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, this guy did. You thought Richard was, Richard was a fucking asshole. So, I mean, I can't really say that. But this guy he killed more people, and all of them
lot
were
more people.
A lot more. And unfortunately, a lot of them were very young boys. And he did a lot. He didn't kill all the ones that he sexually assaulted.
No.
And he did that a lot more than than the ones that he killed.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that survived too.
Yeah. So it's not good.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, ladies and gentlemen, grab your drinks. It's sip time.
Sit back and relax.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Well, try to enjoy listening to this life story of this fucking guy who dressed up as a clown and was a piece of shit. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, this guy
That's
sucked.
all you can say.
This guy sucked. I mean, yeah.
It's
This
literally
guy
all you can
sucked.
say. He was a clown, he killed people, and he's a fuck for it.
Oh, you ain't? Well, you'll talk about it, yeah. About the clown thing.
Yes.
All right. So, obviously, with the Richard thing,
We're going to do the same style here.
same style. Might sound a little scripty, but fuck it. Again, what did I say in the last one? I'd rather have you guys pissed off that it's a little scripted than us get something wrong.
Agreed.
So
Roll the tape.
I want all the facts here.
Roll the tape.
All right. Sit back, relax,
I am.
and enjoy the show. Born in Chicago on March 17th of 1942, John Wayne Gacy was a middle child. His parents, John and Marion, both had decent jobs, and his father was a World War I veteran. Now, despite his parents' jobs and quaint little house, John Wayne Gacy's childhood was quite horrible. While he was very close to his mom and his two sisters, he was constantly abused and beaten by his dad, which I gotta say, sounds like a broken record at this point. Constant physical and emotional abuse from parents can absolutely destroy a kid and his or her development.
It's like we've heard this before.
It's almost like we've heard this before and that we're going to hear it a lot more in the future.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we see all of these serial killers that's why we see all these people turn into these monsters. In my opinion, all of that horrible, nasty behavior, it does stem from something. As we saw with Richard, as we're about to see with John Wayne Gacy. So for example, John's dad once beat him senseless due to him accidentally rearranging his father's auto tools. His mother tried to shield him, but to no avail. His dad would often yell things like sissy or mama's boy, and he even once told his son, John, that he was, quote, probably going to grow up queer. He would say that a lot. So at age 7, John and his best friend were caught inappropriately touching a young girl. His father took him home, whipped him with his belt, and unfortunately that same year, a family friend began to regularly molest him. And due to the abuse he received from his father, John never told him out of fear of being punished again. Gacy was also quite the overweight child, and he apparently had a heart condition, and he had said that doctors told him that he couldn't exercise at all. In the 4th grade, Gacy began blacking out randomly in the middle of class. From ages 14 to 18, he spent the majority of his time in the hospital. He was never diagnosed with anything, and his dad was quite vocal about the displeasure with the whole situation. He often criticized Gacy for faking it, as well as being weak and pathetic, all from Gacy's hospital bedside. But despite the constant and terrible abuse from his father, Gacy went on record to say that he actually did love his dad, but he did feel as though he would never be good enough for him no matter what he achieved or did. So obviously his dad sucked, no doubt about it. And the abuse was definitely going to have lasting effects on his childhood, 100%. The family friend and everything else too. I mean, that adds to it. But we can talk about was that really enough for him to eventually rape and murder 33, probably more young boys and men in cold blood?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Personally, I don't.
No, I think that
Something was
off.
in his head.
Yeah. And if you go back to Richard, it just seems like the people around him were a lot worse.
Agreed.
I mean, they were putting him on drugs. They were
Drugs, making him stalk with them.
Yeah,
like,
stalk
dude,
with them
like,
and all this kind of stuff. And
they
yeah,
were almost in a sense training him all the way through his childhood.
yeah.
Whereas
he saw what was it, Miguel, shoot his wife in the face.
Mhm.
And then he saw, it's just, he saw, his, was it Miguel or was it? Yeah, I think it was Miguel who was, he showed him all the pictures and shit of like all the girls that he raped over in Vietnam and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, dude, yeah, that's bad. So I don't know. I guess we never will. Nobody will ever know, but that is what happened. So, I mean, it keeps going. Moving into his late childhood at age 18, Gacy's dad actually bought him a car. However, it was under his dad's name until Gacy could get the money to pay for it himself. Apparently, his dad would confiscate the keys every time Gacy wouldn't do what his father asked. This led to Gacy actually going out and buying an extra set of keys for the car 2 years later. His dad, obviously upset about the finding, because he did find out, He took parts from the car so that Gacy couldn't drive it anymore. But once his dad finally replaced the parts and the car was drivable again, Gacy immediately took the car and drove to Las Vegas, where his cousin lived. There, Gacy began working for a hospital in the ambulance service. He was then, after a short time, transferred to the Palm Mortuary, where he worked as an attendant for 3 months. He observed the bodies being worked on every day and actually became enamored with them. He would even sleep on a cot in the mortuary some nights. And one night when he was all alone there, he actually climbed into the coffin of a teenage boy and touched the body in all sorts of ways before finally coming to his senses. And he, got kind of scared and just went back to Chicago. So what do you think of that?
It's fucking weird.
That is weird.
Climb in a coffin?
Yeah, don't do that, guys.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, no,
Like-
that's fucked up.
There's something so wrong with you at that point. Like,
Yeah, I think that's why he got
where's the
spooked.
sexual pleasure coming from, though?
I don't know, but I think that's why. So he got spooked and then went back home.
Mhm.
So I think he came to his senses. But
It's like, this doesn't seem quite right.
yeah, now if only he could have stayed that way. Just got shocked and was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing this, and then just like went back home and that was it. That is not what happened. When he was back in Chicago, he enrolled himself at Northwestern's College of Business. Unlike high school, he actually graduated and got a job at the Nunbush Shoe Company. And there he actually rose through the ranks and became a department manager at the location in Springfield, Illinois. And while he was there, he met a coworker, Marilyn Myers, and they got engaged. So that's cool. But he joined a local training service, the JCs, and one of his mates apparently got him drunk off his ass and told him to spend the night. And that is when Gacy had his second homosexual experience, as the male friend, performed oral sex on him. In September of 1964, Marilyn and Gacy got married and moved to Waterloo, Iowa. There, her father had owned 3 separate KFC restaurants, and Gacy managed all of them. He did employ teenagers, both boys and girls, and he would actually often only be seen talking to the boys. He would actually neglect some of the girls, and then he created a so-called club in his basement where his employees could come over, play pool, drink alcohol that Gacy did supply. And when it would get late, he would make sexual advances on his young male employees. But if they weren't into it and they backed up, he would play his advances off as a joke or a test of morals. In 1966, Marilyn had their child. It was a boy, and Gacy's parents actually visited the hospital. His father pulled John aside and apologized for his abusive childhood. He actually shook his hand and said, quote, "Son, I was wrong about you."
That's huge.
That's huge. So
That takes a lot of courage.
It
to
does.
do,
it does. I need a sip.
Like, that's like a true man knowing that he's wrong.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, if you put everything aside, like, here's one thing that I'm going to say. I'll go back to it after I'm done, but he was pretty fucking successful. Like, his dad, was saying, okay, this dude's not going to amount to anything. And then you're managing 3 restaurants. You're in with the local JCs. You graduated college, right? I mean, that's huge. And it doesn't stop there. John Wayne Gacy definitely does. He keeps furthering his life, which is it's wild, man.
Yeah, but on the side, he's just doing fuck shit.
That's what I'm saying is yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if I was his dad too, I mean, and I saw my kid like that, I'd be like, yeah.
You'd be proud.
You would be proud. Yeah. So during his time in Waterloo, Gacy joined the local JCs in Waterloo. Obviously, that's a leadership training service organization. He was known to always be there, always in the building. He was giving a shit ton of time to them. Even with his 12-hour shifts at the KFCs, that didn't stop him from hanging out with the JCs for an extended period of time. He would often cater the Gacy's meetings, providing constant KFC food. And he actually wished for people to call him the Colonel, which they did.
Hands off the Colonel.
I mean, yeah, if I was supplying KFC constantly, I would probably make the same joke.
Of course.
It's just kind of funny. I don't know. I fucking hate this guy. Okay, in March of 1967, his wife had another child, this one a little girl. Gacy actually did such a good job with the Jaycees and his fundraising work that in August of 1967, he was named Outstanding Vice President and served on the board of directors. Even with success, let me just stop right there. Again, more success.
Yeah.
More success. I mean, it's just crazy, man. So even with that.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's almost like we're witnessing and like listening to just this successful businessman arise.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, other than the shit at the.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got the weird coffin shit, a couple sexual encounters, but like,
yeah,
right now, like most of his life seems normal.
Yeah.
And what you would expect of somebody.
Yeah. And also the thing with the Jaycees guy, like, okay, you know, had a little oral sex or whatever, but like, hey,
nothing wrong with that.
No, but you know, the thing is, yeah, that guy was of age.
Yeah.
He was of age. So, you know, yeah, okay.
Do you?
Yeah, you do you, boo-boo. I didn't just call John Wayne Gacy boo-boo, by the way. I just want to point that out. That was just a little joke. God damn it. Okay. Anyway. So unfortunately, there was a dark side of the Waterloo Jaycees. John and a few other members would participate in drug abuse, prostitution, pornography, and they would even swap wives occasionally.
Whoa.
Now, I didn't find anything that if John's wife was a part of that. I don't think she was, though, because of something that happens later. But yeah, that's some crazy shit. So now we get to August, which was a disturbing moment in John Wayne Gacy's life. Fellow Gacy and town politician Donald Voorhees had a son named Donald Voorhees Jr. He was 15 years old when Gacy noticed him walking on the street next to his house. Gacy told Donald Jr. that he would show him pornographic films if he came inside. When Donald Jr. did, John began making his sexual advances. When the young boy backed away, John told him, quote, "Trust me, you have to have sex with a man before you have sex with a woman," end quote. He then persuaded the boy to perform mutual oral sex.
I don't know about that line, actually.
What?
You
Oh,
have to
the
have
way he
sex with
said.
him.
Yeah. No, absolute disgusting piece of dog shit.
Totally.
Absolute disgusting. That must have sparked something inside of him, because the next few months were actually all about sexually abusing young men and boys. John even told one of them to have sex with his own wife. And then when the when the kid said, okay, he told him that he was going to take that statement public. So he basically blackmailed him into performing oral sex on him.
What the hell?
After that, he told a few other young boys that he was actually doing a science experiment and that they would all be paid $50 if they did homosexual acts with him.
Really?
Yeah. Then, in March 1968, all hell broke loose. Now, remember, Gacy has a 2-year-old son and daughter who just turned 1. Donald Voorhees Jr. told his dad about the whole thing, who wasted no time in calling the authorities. They drove to Gacy's home, arrested him, and eventually charged him with sodomy and attempted assault. Obviously, Gacy denied everything. His first words were, quote, "Do a polygraph on me," end quote. Well, the polygraph actually told him, obviously, guys, he was fucking lying, little bastard. So he had to come up with another alibi. And he had said that Donald Voorhees Sr. was his potential adversary and wanted him out of the picture so that he had all of this staged and planted. And believe it or not, a bunch of Jaycees actually believed that and showed up in support of John. on multiple occasions. So that's crazy. On August 30th, Gacy told his KFC employee, Russell Schroeder, who was 18 years old at the time, that he would pay him a whopping $300, which was a lot back then, if he could track down Donald Jr. and beat him up enough so that he wouldn't testify in court against Gacy. Well, Russell did track down Donald Jr. and got him to a park where he actually maced the boy in the eyes and began beating him up. Donald actually escaped after he fought back and told the authorities. They arrested Russell, and he quickly spilled the beans about being hired by Gacy. The police then arrested and charged Gacy yet again. On September 12th, Gacy was evaluated at the mental hospital where he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. They concluded that he was most likely going to do something like this again, as it seemed his behavior was a pattern and that it was set to be repeated.
Crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, guess the
Should have stayed locked up.
Doctors were right. So in November, Gacy actually finally admitted to his assault of Donald Jr. He pleaded guilty, but told the court that Donald Jr. offered the oral sex and he agreed out of curiosity. Guess what? Nobody believed that shit. So he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and that same day, his wife filed for divorce and sole custody of their kids and all of their possessions, to which she got. After that,
As she should.
exactly. After that, John never saw his wife or children ever again.
As he should.
I agree.
Like, if you're doing that to young kids, man,
Yeah, you need to.
his kid, I don't want to be around that man.
Yeah, it's true.
Fuck no.
Yeah. So now we get to his prison life. And while he was in prison, he actually became quite the prisoner. By that, I mean, he behaved well, which caused him to move up to head cook, and he joined the prison JCs. There, you could say he thrived, as he apparently increased the members of the club from just 50 to over 650 in less than 2 years. He was only in prison, actually, for 18 months.
Really?
Yeah. He was given a raise and was even tasked with other projects in prison. Apparently, I read somewhere that he installed a miniature golf course.
What the fuck?
In prison for the prisoners. Yeah. Some crazy shit. So,
Low key, though, kind of sick.
It is kind of, I mean, yeah.
I'd play mini golf there.
Yeah. What else are you going to do? True. So despite his good behavior and incarcerated acts of betterment for himself and others, John was denied parole and leave on multiple occasions, including one. It was Christmas, and his father actually died, and John tried to attend the funeral, and they denied it. So,
Damn.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, but
Don't get locked up.
yeah, don't do dumb shit, and you won't get fucking locked up. So
And then you won't miss your fucking dad's funeral.
Yeah, there you go. So, and that's honestly, I feel bad for the dad, but I hope to God the dad didn't know any of this shit when he died.
He probably did it.
He probably,
Well,
he might have.
at least
But if I was
At
going
least-
on my deathbed, I
yeah.
would never want to know that my son was doing that. But yeah, I think that if he did, then that sucks. And yeah, that's a bummer. Gacy gets no fucking sympathy for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to play
Hell
fucking
no.
hardball. No, that dude, fuck that guy. But after completing 16 high school courses in prison, Gacy was finally granted parole with 12 months probation in 1970. He was given a nightly curfew and was picked up at the prison after he was let out by fellow JC member and friend Clarence Lane. He told Lane that he was never going to go back to prison. Gacy ended up back in Chicago with his mom and actually became a part-time cook. It didn't take long before Gacy was charged again, though. This time in 1971 by assaulting a boy who claimed Gacy had driven him home and tried to force him to have sex with him as a thank you. But the charge was dropped as the boy never showed up for the trial. Then, with help from his mom, Gacy bought a ranch-style home in Chicago where he lived until his arrest. But he was known as a friendly neighbor who would always greet everyone and help out with chores and other things. He even hosted annual summer parties where up to 400 people would show up.
wow.
which
the
we've thrown
fuck?
some parties here, and we've had what, like
50 maybe at one time.
I think the one Halloween party we had like 75. There's a fuck ton of people.
Not
here.
400.
Not 400 though. That's crazy.
That
And we
is
do live
crazy.
in the suburbs.
True.
This man lived in the suburbs. 400 people, bro. That's a block party.
Literally blocking off streets.
That's crazy. I do want to say that he did, like, if that kid showed up to his trial though, that would have broken probation and he would have been sent back like right away to prison.
Why didn't he show up?
So it's the same thing as the Richard case.
I know.
It's like,
Forget about it.
I don't know. We can't put blame on that though. Again, it's all on fucking this guy.
Oh, 100%.
He shouldn't have done this shit.
He had all the choice in the world not to do the
Yeah.
things he does
Yeah.
next. And
Yeah. Yeah. So in 1971, when he was a part-time cook, he created a painting, decorating, and maintenance business called PDM Contractors, which actually means painting, decorating, and maintenance. His business grew, and he eventually hired employees. Unfortunately, those employees, a lot of them, would be sexually assaulted or threatened by Gacy in the following years. To conclude, his life until this point was already shocking enough. A pattern of abuse and sexually assaulting the youth was haunting just as is. But then we add in the fact that he eventually killed 30 plus people, and it just adds to the chilling fact that this man, wouldn't be stopped for quite some time.
it's crazy.
So that is where I am done.
Good job. That's heavy. I mean, it's so crazy because, like, this guy, it seems like he's just so successful, fucks up, is successful in prison, and then fucks up again and keeps fucking up, and then starts fucking other people up.
Yeah. Well,
And
sorry,
it's-
I need to fix this. Sorry, my bad.
You're good.
That's
It's
what I'm
just
saying too.
mind blowing, man.
Yeah, it's like I don't get how, he got freaked out at first in the coffin. That was his first, experience, right, with a guy, but then it turned into young boys and teenagers and stuff, and it was just like I just don't get it. I mean, I don't think you do get it. Same thing as Richard. You
don't
don't
get it.
understand it. It's just
'Cause
something
your brain doesn't click like that,
yeah,
and it's not
Exactly.
supposed to.
yeah, it's true. I just don't, dude. I do know.
Can't stop shaking my head.
I watch a lot of well, I don't know. It became popular on YouTube again, but Chris Hansen, his show, like To Catch a Predator and stuff.
Yeah.
So that got popular on YouTube again, and I started watching like all these episodes. And I do like watching those because I just like seeing these guys get tased, or like they just like freeze when they see Chris Hansen just pop out of the closet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That shit's so fun. But watching that, I guess I realized, there's so many people out there who like kids, and it's just fucking disgusting.
It is, and that's why the people that do like kids get fucked up in prison.
They do, and that's
Because nobody stands for that shit.
Even the hardest motherfuckers in prison will fucking end you if you do shit with a kid. They know that
They know
is
it's
not
fucking wrong.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done fuck shit, but they know that's fucked up.
Yep. Fucking crazy, man.
All right, for audio listeners out there, take a big drink.
Sip time. Because unfortunately, if my part of it wasn't horrible enough, this is where it gets
Pretty intense.
yeah. All right, run it.
Oh, all right. January 1972. Timothy McCoy, Gacy's first true murder victim, was born in Omaha, Nebraska, January 3rd. McCoy arrives in Chicago by bus heading towards Iowa. There was a layover, and he happened to run into a guy by the name of John Wayne Gacy. Gacy offers to drive him around and show him the city while waiting for the bus. He convinces McCoy to go back to his house, where he pulls the same act of luring as he's done prior and numerous times before.
Yep.
Trying to make them feel comfortable, serving them alcohol, making them watch porn together, and conducting sexual activities, whether forced or not. McCoy was told that he would be driven back to the bus in the morning, and they both end up going to bed because of tiredness. Early in the morning, Gacy had claimed to wake up and find McCoy holding a knife and approaching his bedside. They fought for a while, and McCoy grabbed the knife and cut Gacy, slashed him. Gacy, after getting cut, threw McCoy into a wall, and after hitting the wall, McCoy then kicked Gacy in the stomach, knocking him down. Gacy ended up wrestling the young man down to the ground and stabbing him multiple times in the chest, which actually is one of the only victims that actually got stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
McCoy died from the stab wounds, and later Gacy would end up burying him in the crawl space of his house. This poor kid got mutilated.
Yeah.
Just for fucking waiting for a bus.
Yep.
It's fucking crazy.
That's obviously where he felt the like of killing, right?
Yeah, he actually got the thrill.
Yeah, the thrill. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, he got the thrill and felt like sexually aroused by killing.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking here we go again.
Yeah, dude. Same fucking bullshit.
It's
God damn.
Dude, it's like these killers just get off to this shit.
Yeah. All right, continue. I have some thoughts, but I'll save them to the end.
No, you can speak your mind now if you want.
Well, I basically just want to
Okay.
say, well, it's like we're doing a story time here, you know. So I want you to keep going, but I just really quick, I wanted to talk about, and we can obviously fast forward, you know, or go to the end. We can talk about Jesus Christ. We can talk about this at the end, but I want to just talk about how if there's anything,
Give a quick
like
thought
this,
and then give a bigger thought later.
yeah, let's cut this up a little bit. The fact that there's nobody else or that we've seen like this nowadays. I want to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
So-
let's jump back into that in a bit.
Keep going.
Later that year, eventually, the body starts decaying, and the stench fills the house. Gacy eventually remarries a woman named Carol Huff. She begins to question what the smell is and where it's coming from, and forms questions and asks Gacy about it. He is able to convince her that it's just mold and sewer leakage in the basement that's causing the stench. He eventually gets the smell to subside with usage of lime and concrete throughout the crawl space in the basement. 1975, 3 years later. This is the second person that they found dead, but not the third victim of Gacy. The
Okay.
one before it happened from, I believe they said, from 72 to 74, but it's an unidentified victim,
Okay.
which is unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. That sucks.
Another young man is brutally murdered by John Wayne Gacy. A man by the name of John Bukovich, just 16 years old at the time, was offered a construction job by a man named John Wayne Gacy. He was a nice, young, hardworking man at that. He had dinner a few times with Gacy and his wife, Carol. Bukovich witnessed the downfall of Gacy and Hoff's marriage, when she ended up going and traveling to help Gacy's sister take care of her mother after breaking her hip. Bukovich went to one of his father's apartments and started to complain about Gacy not paying him for the work that he was doing. He and his friends ended up at Gacy's house, yelling at him to pay them or they would beat the shit out of him. While Gacy was not amused with this, they eventually settled and compromised by smoking weed and drinking beer together. And by the time that was over, Gacy fell asleep and Bukovich and his friends eventually left. He came back that night, though. Bukovich was still drunk and wanted to talk to Gacy. Gacy ended up driving him back to his house. Again, there was yelling that escalated. Gacy handcuffed the kid and said that he would not take them off until he sobered up.
Okay.
So he just handcuffs him. That's got to be a scary fucking feeling.
Yeah, it's fucked up, but I want to know, like, do you think he, like, you know, I mean, I definitely know stories of people who get pissed when they're drunk and they, you know, lash out and, you know, maybe they get a little violent and yeah, maybe he thought, you know, okay, I can handcuff him. Obviously, knowing the rest of the story, it's fucked up, but
It's true.
I don't know.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to handcuff somebody because they're lashing out. But if like they're like punching you and shit, and they're just like drunk, you're just like, okay, dude, like stop. I usually just hold people and I'm just like, okay, calm down.
Well, Gacy didn't end up holding him.
No, he didn't. No, unfortunately.
He actually ended up strangling the young man to death.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Carol returned home early, which forced Gacy to hide Bukovich's body under the concrete floor of his tool room. Gacy lied and told her that he had quit his job and ran away, which was very strange because later his car was found and his belongings were found near his parents' house. And there was something interesting about this. His keys were left in the ignition.
Whoa.
Potentially indicating that something terrible had happened to him.
Yeah.
Especially for the family.
Yep.
The victims of the parents had continuously tried to pursue and investigate Gacy, calling the authorities numerous times as they knew something was not adding up, but nothing came from it.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. Wild.
Bro.
No investigation, nothing, just missing,
check the man's fucking
child.
house, bro.
The same year, Gacy told his wife, Carol, that he was bisexual. He started spending more and more evenings and nights away. He would return in the morning with excuses that he was working on a business or just working really late. She observed Gacy bringing home teenage boys into the garage during early hours. She also found gay porn and men's wallets and IDs inside their house. She confronted him about it, and he got angry and told her it was none of her business. And that kind of ended that.
I can imagine. Holy shit.
Also that same year, in 1975, Gacy had become aware of the Jolly Joker Clown Club. The club regularly volunteered in entertaining hospitalized children and participating in parades and fundraising events. In late 1975, he joined the club and created 2 characters of his own, later to be known as Pogo and Patches the Clown.
So that's... You ever seen Joker?
Which one?
Like just the movie Joker.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they took that story?
And he was depressed as fuck.
Yeah, he was depressed, but
Yeah.
he was like in that like club, and then he, you know, ended up killing some fuckers, and then he became the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, it could
Interesting.
potentially relate.
Interesting. Go ahead.
He had claimed that Pogo was more of the fun, happy clown, and Patches was a more serious character. He performed as both of these clowns at hospitals, charities, and political events. He was doing public service as the clown while also murdering a bunch of people.
So that's why.
Now leading people to know him as the killer clown.
The killer clown. Yeah.
But he never killed anyone as the
clown, but he
was a clown.
was a clown. Yeah.
It is confusing because you're like, okay.
Well, okay.
But he
also,
would do like clown acts to his victims, like tricks, magic tricks and all this shit. But he never actually put on the makeup or did anything like that.
I don't know, bro. Imagine you bring home a girl. Like I bring home a girl and she fucking starts pulling out like a clown nose and like pulling out magic tricks and shit. I'm like, I'm all good. Then again, it was a different time. And obviously we'll talk about that in the next part about how clowns have kind of evolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Gacy had his second divorce, and from here, his targeting and victims ramp. More and more people are lured killed, totaling at least 33 confirmed murders attached to Gacy's name, 28 of which were identified, leaving 5 unidentified victims. One after another, anywhere from young teenagers to young men, are taken by Gacy. It never stopped with his typical way of bringing the young men, first making them feel comfortable by giving them alcohol, followed by claiming to show them a magic trick, and then he would either rape them, torture them, and strangle his victims, leading to eventually storing their bodies under the bed for a little bit and then finally burying their bodies in the crawl space.
Yikes.
This guy's so fucked, dude. As time approaches 1978, Gacy is about to conduct his final murder before being caught by authorities. A young kid by the name of Robert Peist, or Peist, I don't know how to pronounce that, but sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I'm going to go with Peist.
Mm-hmm.
Is working at a pharmacy store in Des Plaines, Illinois. He is met by a man, any guess? Gacy.
Yeah.
He's there trying to get work for remodeling the pharmacy store. He mentions to Peist that he hires young men to work for him, and his starting wage is $5 an hour.
That's obviously the contracting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. This was apparently double the pay he was earning as part-time at the pharmacy. Peist's mother came to pick him up that night. As soon as they were about to leave, he decided to go talk to Gacy about the job before he left. Gacy took Peist to his home, where he would give him a drink and attempted to talk to him about potential work, where he asked, "Was there anything you wouldn't do for the right price?" Gacy then put the young kid in handcuffs, as he did, and began to remove the boy's pants. He placed a rope around his neck, and Peist cried, and he killed them with the infamous rope trick, which was his strangling move.
Jesus Christ.
Peist did not return to his mother that night, so the family filed a missing person report. They named Gacy as the contractor that Peist left the store talking to. While being investigated, Gacy denied ever having contact with his last victim, although, on the other side, the victim's mother had known he was the one talking to his kid about a big money opportunity. They checked into Gacy's criminal background and found that he had an outstanding battery charge in Chicago and that he was in prison in Iowa for sodomy. Now a suspect in the disappearance of Peist, authorities believe that Gacy might have the kid at his house, like abducted, still alive potentially.
Yep.
They obtained a search warrant, and during the search, they found suspicious items around the house. They found numerous sex toys, pornographic films, books on homosexuality, handcuffs, several police badges, driver's licenses, and underwear of a child. Later in the investigation, the investigators got more details about the battery charge, learning that Gacy lured him, chloroformed him, raped, and tortured him before dumping him in a park. More and more evidence started piling up on Gacy, leading the investigators to believe that Gacy was the prime suspect that connected to all the murders the last few years. Gacy admits to his own lawyer that he had brutally raped, killed, and murdered and buried. Wow, I said killed and murdered. Whoops. Killed and buried a number of people. He admits that a few bodies he had dumped in a river, and the rest were located in his crawl space.
Piece of shit.
Like, he got away with a lot of it because, I mean, he lived alone. Dude was just by himself, so he could just dump it in the crawl space and no one would think of it, anything of it, you know? No one's around his house. It's not like Dahmer in an apartment.
Bro, fucking.
But
you got more?
Yeah, we'll talk on him later in the
Dahmer.
season.
Yeah.
He claimed that his victims were male prostitutes, hustlers, and liars, that he would wake up to be strangled dead and handcuffed in his own house. And then he would bury them in the crawl space because they were his property. 2 days later, he was arrested for the murders of the young men. February 6th, 1980. John Wayne Gacy's trial. Gacy was brought to trial and charged with 33 counts of murder. The trial was in Cook County, Illinois, but the jury was selected in another city due to the crazy amount of press in Cook County. The year prior to the trial, he spent quite a bit of time going through various psychological tests to determine if he was mentally competent to stand trial. Gacy tried to convince doctors that he had multiple personality disorder and claimed to have 4 personalities, one being a hardworking civilian, another being a contractor, another being the clown, and the last a politician. As that's
As you do.
crazy personalities differences, you know?
It's just different hobbies that
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah.
And one personality for me is a fucking author. The other one is a nice friend. The other one is a podcaster. And the other one works at Walmart.
It's like, what the fuck?
Doesn't make any sense. Go ahead.
His lawyers opted to have him plead not guilty by reason of insanity. They had a few psychiatric experts who had examined Gacy testify, and they found him to be considered a paranoid schizophrenic with multiple personalities. This was argued throughout the trial, and with major attempts to debunk the claims and state Gacy knew exactly what he was doing. The ability to think logically and control his actions about the things he had done, and showing pictures of the victims to the jury, were enough to sway the jury to find Gacy guilty of the 33 charges after deliberating for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to death row, and he was sent to Menard Correctional Center, where he resided there for 14 years. There he began painting, where his paintings were later displayed at exhibitions and sold at auctions. Gacy began reading a great amount of law books and filed motions and appeals, but this did not work. 1984, the Supreme Court upheld the conviction and ordered his execution by lethal injection on November 14th.
Good. Fuck that guy.
A few more appeals were made, but once again, the Supreme Court upheld the conviction and set a new execution date.
Oh, shit.
Then to deny his last appeal and set the final execution date for May 10th, 1994.
1994?
Yeah.
So they did that in the 80s, like mid 80s, and then he wasn't even fucking killed until 94?
Yeah. On May 9th, 1994, he was transferred to Stateville Correctional Center, where he would be executed.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
He was allowed a final meal, and you want to know what he ordered?
I guess.
KFC.
Oh, fucking. He probably thought it was some big full circle moment. Like, oh man, I was a dude. KFC was my whole thing. Let me just get some Bro, fuck you. I hate this guy, dude.
KFC, French fries, fried shrimp, strawberries, and a Diet Coke.
Fried shrimp?
Like
When
pop,
the
like a
fuck did KFC
popcorn
have
shrimp.
fried shrimp, bro.
Like a popcorn shrimp.
They got that right now?
I don't know. They might.
I'll go eat it.
Once again, this killer made a stamp on pop culture, and throughout the years, piquing interests in movies, TV, documentaries, into what we know now as the Killer Clown.
Yep. And we will talk about that next episode.
And that's
it.
a few of the murders and victims, and a little bit extra about his trial and the end of life. Like, this guy just did so many terrible things, man.
I'm exhausted.
As am I.
I'm exhausted hearing all this shit, man. I'm over hearing this. Like, I can't. Okay, so the first couple things. First, I want to say, he said Pogo the Clown was the more like happy clown. Have you ever seen the painting of Pogo the Clown? That's not no happy fucking clown. That's a scary looking clown, bro. I mean, yeah, everybody knows the story behind it, but
That is
that's
the
not
claim.
a happy ass clown, bro. Like Ronald McDonald is like a happy clown, you could say. He's a little too happy, but he's happy.
Wacky Adventures of a Ronald McDonald. Do you get that?
Where the fuck is Clickety Chicken? I understand that one.
Yeah, it's what a persona though, like,
yeah.
and being perceived as the killer clown, but not actually killing people.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that it's an interesting take that was stamped to his name.
well, it's probably the most like out there thing that he had. Like, what are you gonna call him, the KFC like killer or some shit? Like, that's probably not. That doesn't fly as well as. It doesn't like roll off the. Well, it kind of hits.
KFC
killer.
It kind of does roll off the tongue.
It kind of does, but killer clown is like
True.
that's like.
And that like puts a nice staple in clowns in general of horror icon.
Which we'll talk about next episode. Don't spoil nothing now, bro. We gotta talk about it next episode.
But if I heard KFC killer or whatever,
yeah,
I would think that someone put down the big KFC bucket.
it'd be like a Jason-esque character walking around with a fucking KFC bucket over the head, like Kevin James, and
and just eating a chicken wing.
just like stabbing him with a chicken wing. Damn. Ah, no, man, fuck this guy. But what I was saying earlier,
Let's roll back to that.
So obviously, the fucking 70s through the 90s, there was serial killers that everybody knows, right? There's countless Netflix documentaries. We're making podcasts about them. Fucking other people have podcasts about them. Like, it's like everybody's like obsessed with serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, is like, we don't see that a lot now.
I personally think technology is just too good that it can get you.
That's what I was going to say is like, do these people still exist, but police catch them soon? Like quick because
they get
of
maybe
technology?
One or two people killed before they're caught.
Exactly. Or with the use of technology and being able to like talk to somebody and things like that. Like, do you think that could also play into more of the, because look, I hate to say it, but I know people who grew up with shitty fucking childhoods, just like these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the extent of like Richard's, where he was surrounded by people like that. But I mean, dude, too, like we know, like, I know people who have been close to joining gangs. I know, and like all that kind of stuff, but they get out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there is that level of like common sense when you're like, I should not be doing this. And it's like, you kind of like stop, you try to get out of that situation, you use tools. And I think now it's probably easier to do that than it was back then. I mean, yeah, dude, I'm willing to say it. I for a very long time for the majority of my life, I struggled with anxiety and depression. And I feel like if I talked about that openly back in like the 70s, people probably call me a pussy or whatever,
It's just different now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, I think that could have an impact in why, we don't see as many.
Right.
There's more outlets.
It's more normalized now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which I think is a big deal for sure. I mean,
still sucks.
Fortunate thing that obviously this is going to be a little sensitive for sure, but have we replaced serial killers with like mass shooters?
Those have happened quite often.
Exactly. And there was a while there where it seemed like every morning we'd wake up and there would be something new. And that shit sucks 110%. But it's like,
they're still kind of technically a serial killer. They kill a lot of people,
that's
right?
true. Yeah.
It's just at one time rather than
time.
Over a course of years,
Exactly. So I don't know. That could be a discussion for another time. One thing that I want to have, obviously, you guys reach out, tell us if this is a good idea, but I would like to have a detective or a police officer or somebody on at some point in one of these episodes and talk about this exact issue of whether serial killers have been replaced with mass like killers, like, you know, or if this kind of behavior has really fallen off thanks to technology and normalizing mental health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh no, I totally agree. I just think it's just easier to talk about, and no one looks the other way. They kind of understand more nowadays than they did back then. I think, you know?
Yeah. And I think too, like if John Wayne Gacy, you know, was a kid and he left and was like, hey, you know, he told somebody, hey, I'm getting beat up at home. I'm getting molested by a family member or whatever. Somebody is going to help him.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, right? Back then, probably not.
No,
but
I mean, it was kind
there's
of
a lot
normal
of
to get
tools.
beat with a belt back then, you know?
It's
It
true.
was like,
Shit, my
there's
dad
just-
could talk
there was-
about that for hours.
there was just different ways of disciplining your kid that people had different ways of doing it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I got my ass whooped a couple times, but I looking back though,
100%.
I deserve that shit. And so it's like
I was a little shit.
I was a little fucker, and I'm happy I did because now I feel like I'm not a little fucker. I'm a big fucker. I'm just kidding. Nah, man. I don't know, dude. This fucking guy though. It's just disgusting.
It is. And it's crazy that these guys have such an impact on society as a whole and just the culture that we live.
Unfortunately, these guys impacted the genre that we love, horror. That is why we're talking about it on the Supernaturals. This is the real side of horror. We love the fictional side where we get to see kills and all that. And don't get me wrong, we do love the real side where there's hauntings and stuff like that, right? But
Well, some of us do, but
all right, bitch. I'm gonna make you a believer one day.
But yeah, no, you're totally right.
I think it's just like learning about this shit. It excites, right? That's why everybody loves this. It's because we can't believe it. We're like stunned that this actually happened. It's like, what the fuck?
It's a mind blower.
It's a fucking mind blower. Yeah, dude. Like I mean, dude, if aliens came down here or whatever, and they were like, yeah, we built the pyramids of Egypt or whatever, I'd be like, that's fucking crazy.
And then you'd have some people who go, I fucking knew it.
Which would be me. But it's like, it's the same kind of shit, right? It's like you're blown away by seeing this stuff and you're like, how the fuck did they build that? Or like, you know, you're amazed at what humans can just do.
Old architecture is fucking stunning.
I was talking to my dad about this the other day. Random side note here, but I was like, why are our buildings so ugly now? I'm like, it's all this modern design shit, which like I understand.
They're trying to be good.
But it's also at the same time, it's like, why can't I get like, why aren't these marble? Like, why aren't there some fucking like statues around here? Like,
fucking Romans built something crazy. What are we doing? Building out of fucking just wood.
Yeah. Or like fucking, yeah, it's like, bro, I like my house that I'm living in right now, but like, dude, I want it to be like some fucking Viking shit with like the cool like Norse knotwork like ceiling and shit. And like, I want that. Why? Like, it's not pretty anymore. It's not like, you know, you can look at something and be like, damn, whoever made that put some fucking time and effort into that. Like, you can, like, they really cared about what they're building. Now it's just like, oh, it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a project. It's like, I understand. I get it. You know, it's mass. There's a lot of people in the world and stuff, but I don't know. I like old architecture. That's kind of.
Although it can't go wrong with a nice log cabin, though.
Oh, dude, I agree with
There's
that.
something about
nice
a cabin
log
in the
cabin.
woods, man.
Yeah.
Or mountains, whatever.
I would take a cabin in the woods. Like, not like one of the, like, we stayed at a cabin that one time
Mm-hmm.
with all of our friends, and that was super fun, and it was like a rich looking cabin. I mean, that shit was sick. But any fucking day, I would choose the old, like, beat up, worn down log cabin and like have to make my own fire and
Rustic
shit.
ass shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would choose that over like the nice shit any day, because it's just like, I don't need this shit, man. If you guys know me, like if any of you guys are listening and you know me, like, you know, I don't need fancy shit.
You don't know me.
You don't know me. No, I don't need fancy shit, dude. I need a book and a fucking like nature. That's what I need.
It's the simple things, man.
It's the simple things. And unfortunately, that was not the simple things for these guys that we've talked about so far on this podcast.
No, it's really sad. And our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this now, back then, and potentially in the future.
Yeah. So this has been a very rough episode, I would say, of the Supernaturals. Hopefully not in quality, but in topic, in conversation. This has been heavy. It's one thing to make a movie about it and it be fictional. Like I said, I'm always the one to root for the kills.
But this is fucking real.
But this is real shit. And this actually happened. And the more you read about it, the more you wish to God that it didn't happen.
Yeah, I just want to erase it from my brain.
Yeah. So,
but, you know, it's been fun. It's been real.
We finish our drinks on this podcast. Down your drinks, everybody. Oh, again, if you're young, down that Capri Sun right fucking now, bro.
Yeah.
Pop the little straw in, sip that bitch down until it crumples, and then throw that bitch away.
I fucking love Capri Sun.
I love Capri Sun.
We got to drink one on the pod.
I think we've already made it a joke like twice. We have to do one of these days for one of these, maybe the Dahmer episode. We just pull up with a fucking just jug of like Capri Sun because they do that now.
Yeah,
they have jugs of Capri Sun.
Oh my god, that sounds so good. We got to get the good flavors.
We got to get the good flavors. Good Capri Sun.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. You know, we drop our podcast every Wednesday now.
Every Wednesday.
So get ready for that because from now on, it's dropping.
Yeah, we are officially set sail on this adventure.
We're launched and it's coming in hot. So
also want to appreciate everybody for the feedback on the first few episodes that we have released. It has been pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you guys also enjoy listening to us talk and honestly join the conversation about all things horror because that is what we want to do on this podcast.
Exactly.
Is we want to talk about all things horror.
Something we fucking love.
Absolutely love. So
yeah. You know, this has been another episode of The Supernaturals.
We will see you next week for part 2 where we talk about freaky ass fucking clowns.
Yes, and check out our Patreon.
Yeah.
Merch coming soon as well.
The merch that we've seen so far is fucking lit. So,
true.
Yeah, just stay tuned. All right. We will see you guys around the graveyard.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this chilling episode of The Supernaturals. For your protection, make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And stay tuned for the next episode.